Welcome to this second video in a series of two about the Benade Hall fire at the Academy of the New Church in Benade. The script for this video will essentially come from an article in the Philadelphia Inquirer from November 13, 1948, 2 days after the fire started. It will especially focus on how it was that the fire started. There was a story about the Benade Hall fire in the Philadelphia Inquirer on the morning of Saturday, November 13, 1948. The headline read, "Fireman held in $575,000 arson case. Hatboro volunteer confesses starting school, barn blazes." A 29-year-old volunteer fireman from a neighboring community confessed yesterday, after all-night questioning, police said, that he set fires that destroyed a Benade school building with a loss exceeding $500,000 and caused $75,000 damage to a barn in the same area. The suspect, Evan Hall of Byberry Road, Hatboro, a member of the Hatboro Fire Company, was taken into custody Thursday night at the height of the general alarm blaze, which wrecked Benade Hall, main building of the Academy of the New Church, Police Chief Howard Ryan of Benade disclosed. School cook gives clue. Ryan said Hall first admitted between 3 and 1 a.m. yesterday that he was responsible for another general alarm fire which swept a large barn on the Benade estate of Reverend Theodore Pitcairn last Saturday, but continued denying until about 10 a.m. that he touched off the larger blaze. The police chief said Hall finally broke down when a cook at the school, popularly known as Benade Academy and affiliated with the Swedenborgian faith, reported yesterday morning that he saw Hall leave the school grounds on a motorbike at 5:30 p.m. Thursday. The flames were discovered 2 hours later. Charged with arson in 2 warrants, Hall was taken before Justice of the Peace Otho Heilman for a hearing in DeCharms Hall, the Academy's grade school, which adjoins the burned-out Benade Hall, where high school classes were held. Chief Ryan and Police Sergeant Warren Cornell testified that the suspect had signed 2 confessions, which were read. Hall stated only, "They are true," and was held without bail for the Montgomery County Grand Jury. Can't read or write. The suspect's father, Howard R. Hall, appeared at the hearing but did not testify. He told Ryan, however, that his son can't read or write, except for his name, that he was the youngest of 4 children, and that he had been unemployed recently after having done only odd jobs previously. After the hearing, Hall put his arm around his son and remarked, "Don't you worry, but it will be a while before you come home." The younger man replied, "I know, I'd rather be dead." Ryan told Magistrate Heilman that a stenographer had taken down the suspect's oral confessions and that they had been read back to him twice before the hearing to check their accuracy. In the section dealing with the school fire, Hall was quoted as saying that he went to the basement carpentry shop, lit some oily waste with a match, and tossed the waste into a pile of wood shavings, then stood there 3 or 4 minutes. "As I watched, I got a pain in the back and in my head that gave me a satisfied feeling." Hall admitted, Ryan said, setting fire the previous Saturday night to the barn on the Pitcairn estate by striking matches and tossing them into a large quantity of baled hay and other combustible materials. The hay and farm implements were destroyed, and the barn itself was left a smoking shell after firemen from 8 communities, including Hatboro, tried vainly to quell the blaze. 300 students affected. Meanwhile, nearly 300 students were affected by the Benade Hall fire, which destroyed a large chapel and wrecked classrooms and laboratories in the 40-room, 3-story structure. Among the students were 62 girls from the seminary, 66 from the Boys' Academy, and more than 100 junior college students. Many of them returned to the charred building yesterday to salvage belongings from lockers and to help clear away debris. An insurance man said the building was insured for $500,000. He added that the structure would have to be rebuilt, and that the damage probably would exceed that figure when the cost of equipment is included. Nearly all young residents of the borough of Brenathan belong to the General Church of the New Jerusalem. Classes will be conducted in the undamaged buildings. After the fire was discovered almost simultaneously shortly before 7:45 p.m. Thursday by a woman schoolteacher and a building watchman, hundreds of firemen from a dozen companies in Montgomery, Bucks, and Philadelphia counties were called on to fight the blaze, one of the most spectacular in years in lower Montgomery County. The flames had gained such headway, however, that firemen were helpless to check their spread. Suspicions aroused. Ryan said that Hall's arrest resulted from the fact that Sergeant Cornell recalled that Hall rode up on a motorbike and asked him if he could help direct traffic just after the first fire company, Brenathan, arrived to combat the barn fire the previous Saturday. Cornell told Ryan that when he arrived at the school fire, he noticed that Hall already was on 2nd Street Pike near the school, again directing traffic, although the Hatboro Fire Company, of which Hall was a member, had not yet been called out. Cornell said he decided to arrest Hall after another Brenathan policeman reported to him that Hall had excitedly asked if he could stand a fire watch all night if you take me back to Hatboro so that I can get my duffel bag. Cornell said that the all-night questioning was conducted by himself, Ryan, and Chief of Police Russell Pletcher of adjoining Lower Moreland Township, and that State Fire Marshal Charles W. Taylor joined the group of interrogators in the early morning. The final straw. The sergeant added that Hall finally admitted the school arson when Bertram Freeman, a cook at the academy, who had been unaware until yesterday morning that the suspect was under arrest, reported that he had seen a man leaving the grounds on a motorcycle several hours before the fire was discovered. Suspicious of the stranger, Freeman jotted down the license number, which checked with that of Hall's machine, Cornell asserted. Here is a photograph from the Philadelphia Inquirer of, from left to right, Sergeant Warren Cornell, suspect Evan Hall, and Chief of Police Howard Ryan. The headline reads, "Arson suspect at spot where school fire was started. Evan Hall, 29, a volunteer fireman of Hatboro, standing in the basement carpentry shop of the main building of Brenathan Academy, where the fire was started that swept the structure Thursday night, causing damage estimated at $500,000. Police Chief Howard Ryan Wright of Brenathan announced Hall has confessed setting the blaze." And in this photograph, also from the Inquirer article, Aubrey Cole, an instructor, salvaging books from a burned-out classroom. So that is how the Benade Hall fire began and how the crime was solved. The arson fire created complete devastation for Benade Hall. However, Benade Hall was able to rise from the ashes, and the Academy of the new church eventually ended up with a new Benade Hall building.